I lived in a rural area in Hiroshima until I entered elementary school. Let me tell you about Saochen, someone I knew, though we weren't close. My maternal grandparents' home was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by fields as far as the eye could see. There were no kindergartens or daycare centers nearby, so I spent my days at home playing and waiting for my father to return from work, getting quite bored. The only exciting times were when we went to the nearby town, especially when we visited the usual park. I used to play there while waiting for my mother to finish shopping. One day at the park, I met a cute girl who was about the same age as me. We started playing together. Her name was Sayo-chan, and she lived in the town nearby. She seemed to come to the park to play on her own. She was a cute girl with an afro hairstyle, wearing a black skirt and a white shirt. We quickly became friends and started playing in the sand. We dug up the dry sandbox with shovels, creating a large sand mountain, and both of us started digging holes from opposite sides. As we dug and cleared away the sand with our hands, we knew that when our hands touched inside the mountain, the tunnel would be complete. I thought, will my hand touch Sayo-chan soon? As I continued digging towards the center. But when I reached the middle, something grabbed my hands with a great force. I was pulled headfirst into the sand mountain, which remained firm and didn't crumble. I felt like I was being suffocated, pinned against sand, and I cried out, "Stop it, Sayo-chan!" "Huh? What's going on?" She remained in a crouching position with her hands inside the sand mountain, grinning mischievously. There was no way her arms could reach me, considering she looked like a 5 or 6-year-old girl. I kept shouting, "Stop it! Stop it!" in bewilderment. Luckily, my mother arrived at that moment, and I was freed from Sayo-chan's grip. As I began to sob and thank my mother, Sayo-chan quickly ran away. Even though I was just a child, I felt that my mother wouldn't believe me if I told her what had happened, so I remained silent and went back home. Since then, it seemed like Sayo-chan had taken an interest in me. Every time my mother went to town, she would leave me at the park, and I had to play with Sayo-chan. She always wore the same black skirt and white shirt, and her parents never accompanied her. She conveniently appeared at the park just as my mother was leaving, scaring away not only kids my age, but even older ones from elementary school. I couldn't defy Sayo-chan in any way, and I began to fear meeting her. Strange things happened every time I saw her. She could make a lighter ignite with just a touch, and I once saw her throw a bowl of dried leaves at a cat walking on the fence, causing the cat to fall without even trying to balance itself. Meeting Sayo-chan became a source of terror for me. I had been having frightening encounters with Sayo-chan at the park each time. Gradually, I started staying indoors more often, and stopped accompanying my mother on her shopping trips. As a child, I was trying to escape from Sayo-chan. About a month after I stopped going to the park, there was a family outing planned where both my parents would take me shopping. My father would be driving, so I thought I wouldn't have to encounter Sayo-chan, and I agreed happily. We had an enjoyable time at the department store, but on the way back, our car happened to pass by the park. The park's entrance was on the sidewalk over a side of the road, and unfortunately the car stopped right near the entrance at a traffic light. I was nervously looking out the window, hoping Sayo-chan wouldn't see me. To my surprise, she was there, all by herself. She was pointing at something and laughing hysterically. It seemed like she found something incredibly funny as she rolled on the ground, laughing uncontrollably. I was dumbfounded. But at the moment, the traffic light turned green, and the car started moving. Sayo-chan's figure was left behind. However, Sayo-chan's figure slid in the direction our car was moving. She was pointing at and laughing at the car I was in. I couldn't understand how she knew I was in that car, but my fear overwhelmed any attempts to figure it out. The next day, my father was in a severe rear-end collision, which caused damage to his spine. He would spend most of his life in a hospital in Kyushu. My mother and I went to Kyushu together, and stayed with my paternal relatives. And that's where I started attending elementary school. I never saw Sayo-chan again. I don't believe my father's actions were their fault, or at least I don't want to believe it. I feel a sense of shared responsibility, and just thinking that our actions might have been involved made me angry and resentful. These feelings still linger within me today.